Amazon rainforest, once known to be the world's largest carbon absorber, are now increasingly becoming a carbon emitter. And the shift of Amazon from being a carbon absorber to an emitter could greatly hurt climate goals on a global level. Now, before proceeding further, let us clear some basics first. We know that plants and trees absorb carbon dioxide from their surroundings and then release oxygen into the atmosphere through the process known as photosynthesis. But along with this, whenever a plant or tree dies, that particular event also releases certain amount of carbon into the system. Now, forests act as a carbon sink when the amount of carbon retrieved through photosynthesis outweighs that which is emitted by tree loss. And in this situation, there is a net absorption of carbon dioxide in the system. However, the world's tropical forests are rapidly losing their ability to absorb the carbon dioxide from greenhouse gas emissions, with the Amazon rainforest at the risk of tipping to a carbon source that is a net emitter of CO2 by 2035. And these extra emissions, which are also known as carbon cycle feedbacks, are already making the prospect of keeping global warming below 2 degrees Celsius next to impossible. Recently, an international team of researchers reporting in the journal Nature Climate Change found that in the decades between 2010 to 2019, Amazon released 20% more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than it had absorbed. The Amazon basin gave out 16.6 billion tons of carbon dioxide while absorbing merely 13.9 billion tons of greenhouse gases. The study also showed that deforestation had increased fourfolds in 2019 compared to the previous 2 years as environment protection laws deteriorated. Now, commenting on the situation, Professor Jean-Pierre Vigneron, who is a scientist at the French National Institute for Agronomic Research, also stated that we half expected it, but it is the first time that we have figures showing that the Brazilian Amazon has flipped and is now a net emitter. He also further stated that they don't know at what point this change could become irreversible. Now, taking a look at Brazil's history with deforestation, the country allowed massive deforestation drives for construction of the Trans-Amazonian Highway. Along with this, they also allowed cultivation of soy on inaccessible lands to meet global livestock feed demands and boost the economy. Then in 2003, measures were taken under President Lula da Silva to curb deforestation, where he created strict reserves and increased protection of indigenous lands. Also under his term, the soy moratorium was signed, which ensured that no soy would be brought from newly deforested lands. And the IBMA police agency tracked individuals who practiced illegal deforestation. So by 2012, a year after his term ended, almost 47% of Amazonian rainforest had become protected, with the rest being closely monitored, taking deforestation levels to a record low. And then came the rise of the Ruralists. The Ruralists are a group of conservative politicians who represent the interest of the agro industry. And by 2012, they had occupied almost 44% of seats in Brazil's Congress. Upon gaining influence, they pressured the government to slash IBMA's funding and weaken the forest code, which in turn enabled the clearing of privately owned lands. Environmental policies then further weakened when right-wing ruralist ally Jair Bolsonaro was elected as the president, who then transferred the Forest Service and Code from the Environmental Ministry to the Agriculture Ministry. Then in August 2019, over 30,000 fires arose in the Amazonian forest, which were created and fueled by deforestation, as well as the intentional and illegal attempts to clear those lands. These fires were also used as a tactic to drive off indigenous people of their lands, and such communal violence rose under Bolsonaro, who had already campaigned to curb the indigenous rights. The combination of intentional clearing and relaxed legislation resulted in the loss of over 9,000 square kilometers of the rainforest in 2019, as deforestation rates hit their highest levels of the decade. Now, taking a look at the individual fires in the rainforest through July 2019, over 7,200 square miles of the Brazilian rainforest has burned an aggregated area which is nearly the size of New Jersey. And most of these fires in the region are caused by humans. While many are set in previously cleared lands to remove any excess vegetation, others are set in land that is still in the process of being cleared to make more open land for crops and cattle. Now, coming to the recent situation, the first trimester of 2020 already saw more than 50% increase in deforestation as compared to the previous year, and this could spur more pessimistic temperature goals. The situation is likely to worsen as IBMA stands underfunded in Brazil, where deforestation penalties are getting increasingly rare despite the claims of protection by the Defense Ministry. And with 17% of the forest already gone, a 2018 report suggests that if 25% of Amazon gets deforested, it will collapse due to an inability to produce the water it needs, and so will one of the world's major carbon sinks. Now, I hope you liked today's video and found the details informative. If you wish to watch more such videos in future, then do consider subscribing to this channel and commenting your suggestions below. Now, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.